Okay. Hello, everybody. We're going to call to order the Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, January 13th, 7:30 PM. And can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioners Austin,
Here.
Brooke,
Present.
Rose,
Here.
Scheffler,
Here.
Sheaf,
Here.
and Chair Carter Bowen.
Here.
Okay, thank
So the next up is approval of minutes for the last meeting, which was on December 9th. Your motion?
I'll move to approve those minutes in that meeting.
And I'll second those, Commissioner Brooke.
And do we do a roll call for that?
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Commissioners Austin,
Yes.
Brooke,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Scheffler,
Yes.
Sheaf,
Yes,
and Chair Carter Bowen.
Yes. Okay, so next up, do we have any public input at this time? Sherry, Craig, or staff?
No, staff has been monitoring our planning line all afternoon and currently during this meeting, and no public input has been submitted for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So then now I think we'll move on to our public hearings portion. We have PH1, conditional use permit, CUP 2020-0010, and minor exception, ME 2020-0017. And staff, can we have a report, please?
Yes, good evening, Chair and members of the Planning Commission. The PowerPoint presentation should be visible. If you can just let me know if you all can see that.
It is.
Okay, thank you very much. This is a request for a conditional use permit to build a new two-story housing unit along with a minor exception, which would be to maintain a segment of driveway that is 11 feet wide where 12 feet is required. This would be the fourth housing unit on the property located at 518 Fano Street. A conditional use permit is required for the development of more than 2 units on a lot. This is the project site. It's located in the southwestern area of the city, just south of the 210 freeway and the Metro rail line. It's on the south side of Fano Street in between South Mayflower to the east and Alamedas Avenue to the west. The property is located in a medium to high residential density zone. This designation's for areas of the city that are primarily developed with a mixture of single-family homes and duplexes and small low-density apartment and condominium complexes. The development standards for this property allow a density of 1 unit per 2,500 square feet of lot area, and that works out to about 5 units. With this project, we would only just have 4 units. This lot is rectangular in shape, measuring 55 feet in width and 249 feet in length. And the total size of the property is roughly 1/3 of an acre and is already developed with 3 units. This is a rotated angle of the property so that you can see a bird's eye view facing west. And as I mentioned, there are 3 units on the site. It's currently developed with a single-story house and a detached garage in the front. And then there's a 2-story duplex in the middle. And the duplex has a carport made for 2 vehicles. The remainder of the lot, as you can see to the left, is largely undeveloped. Here are some ground level pictures of the property. On the left, you can see the front unit, which was built in 1953. Driveway on the left leads back to the 2-story duplex, which was constructed in 1963. And the picture on the right, you can see that there's an attached carport. The plan would be to demolish this carport in order to build a new 2-car garage on each side of the duplex. This would allow code-required parking for the duplex. And staff has drafted a condition of approval that would require some remodeling of these 2 structures to include a new paint, a new color scheme, and facade improvements for the duplex structure. You can see that the little covered entry there is pretty sad looking, and we're hoping to get a little enhancement on that, make it look better, so it's a nice cohesive looking development. Here's some photos of the surrounding neighborhoods, mostly developed with multifamily and some single-family development. For the most part, they're two-story multifamily buildings. The architectural character is an eclectic mix of older, minimal traditional styles. Some newer Spanish revival and contemporary styles are also present. Here's the project's current site plan. The proposed two-story house will be located in that developable area towards the left, which is in the back beyond the single-family house and the duplex. The applicant will be using the existing driveway for vehicle access to the new unit and parking areas. However, a portion of this driveway is 1 foot narrower than the 12-foot wide requirement, which is shown in the blue dashed lines on this slide. In order to keep that width, the owner needs a minor exception from the Planning Commission, and the remainder of the driveway will be 12 feet. Staff is recommending approval for this minor exception because the owner is not planning to do any major construction work to the house and would be an unnecessary hardship to require demolition and reconstruction of the wall there just to gain a foot of driveway. So staff feels that approving this would be consistent with the general intent of the code and that there's still adequate room for vehicle access to the new unit and the new parking areas. This slide shows the removal of that carport and the location of the 2 new garages on each side of the duplex. And the new 2-story house will be located in the back, has its own 2-car garage. There's also a guest space will be created in between the new house and the garage. And all the driveway areas, existing and new, will be resurfaced with a new concrete pavement as required by the conditions of approval. And each of the 4 units will have access to private recreation space that are enclosed within 5-foot tall wooden fences as required by code. And they're all directly accessible from each unit. The new 2-story house and garages would fit within the required rear and side yard setback requirements as shown in this diagram. The architect's landscape plan is mostly calling for lawn space, but we have a condition of approval in there that will require some landscape improvements, including some new trees and shrubs and ground cover. Here are some photos taken from that developable area of the project site, and these are all looking towards the neighboring properties. Here's a rendering of the new home looking south. The architectural style has modern elements. It has hipped roof lines, large window openings, smooth cement plaster finish. All of the windows are vinyl framed units. The front windows feature a thick, bold wood surrounds, and the garage door and second floor balcony railings are a combination of steel and glass. The building's height is well below the 27-foot height limit. You'll notice that the east elevation, which is at the top right-hand side of the slide, shows no windows on the second floor. This is to protect the privacy into the yard next door to the east. And regarding that image there, I'd like to also point out that although not required, the second story is stepped back from the first floor about 10 feet on the back side there. And these are just some elevations of the garages. There'll be a 2-car garage on each side of the duplex. So overall, this unit is 2,200 square feet, a 4-bedroom house with an attached 2-car garage and a guest parking space. Project complies with all the city's development standards for multifamily development except for the driveway width. The standards are listed here in this table, and this table is also included in your staff report on pages 4 and 5. I just want to briefly cover some of the public concerns that we received prior to the Planning Commission's meeting in December. You'll recall that the applicant requested a continuance on this so that we can address the comments we received just a few hours before the meeting. Staff did meet with a neighbor on her property next door and reviewed the plans and the conditions of approval. And some of the comments were addressed at that time. For example, there was a comment about the large appearance of the house as viewed from her yard. This image that you see on your screen is very similar to the angle that she would be seeing from her backyard. We went over the development standards that apply to this project and noted that that this house meets the setback requirements and that the height is well below the height limit. There were some comments, though, that did require a few minor changes to the site plan. The images you see here are a ficus tree and a weed tree that was originally planned to remain on the property, and you can see that's very close to the neighbor's property line. And she correctly pointed out that it would be impossible to construct a wall along this part of the property line because of those exposed roots, which you can see here. The applicant has agreed to remove these trees, and it's noted on the updated site plan, and it's also in the conditions of approval, data sheet 1, condition 2. The neighbor also correctly pointed out that the thickness of that new concrete wall would have narrowed the driveway to a little less than 11 feet. So as a result, the architect is placing a thinner wall along that property line, a wood fence instead of the block wall, in order to maintain that 11 feet. And finally, there were some areas along this boundary line where it's difficult to determine where the property line is. Staff has recommended to the applicant that he have a licensed engineer do a survey of the property to identify the correct, accurate location of the property line. So staff is recommending approval of this project, subject to the conditions of approval, which are attached to the staff report in data sheets 1 and 2. They include requirements that the applicant must address to ensure that this development doesn't create any negative burdens on the neighborhood. They include performance standards, requirements for final design details, and construction site requirements and fire sprinklers. Staff's also prepared the findings that are necessary to approve the conditional use permit and the minor exception, which may be found in data sheet 3. And these include consistency findings with the general plan and compliance with the zoning standards and compatibility with the neighborhood. This project's also exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act in that this project is just for one house, where up to 3 houses can be built under the state law's categorical exemptions. So with that, that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
Any of the commissioners, oh, thank you for your report, first of all. Do any of the commissioners have any questions? No questions? Okay, we're gonna open up the public hearing. That will be next. Is the applicant here on the line? Sherry, anybody like to speak?
Yes, Chair, we do have the applicants here. We have Mr. Kevin Lay, Darren Shee, who's the owner.
Okay. Like to hear from them.
So at this time, we're going to ask them to unmute. They're welcome to speak. We'll give them a moment.
Yeah, my name is Kevin, and yeah, I am applicant, and I'm okay. I am fine. Yeah.
Okay, would Mr. Darren Shee like to speak? Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone here to speak in favor?
So, Chair, staff has been monitoring the input lines for public comment on these projects, and we have not received any requests for public comment on this public hearing item.
Okay. So I think this is the part where we close the public hearing. Okay, we'll close the public hearing. And then we will ask for a motion.
This is Commissioner Sheaf. I would like to make a motion to approve continuous use permit 2020-0010 and minor exception 2020-0017.
Second.
Second,
Yep, okay.
And then for the roll call, Commissioners Austin,
Yes.
Brooke, Commissioner Brooke,
you're on mute, Daryl.
Is that a thumbs up? Thumbs
Oh.
up.
okay. Commissioner Rose,
Yes.
Scheffler,
Yes.
Sheaf,
Yes.
and Chair Carter Bowen.
Yes,
And Chair, this decision is, ends with the Planning Commission, so if I can read the appeal language, decisions of the Planning Commission may be appealed to the City Council if filed in writing within 10 days, and note that an appeal fee is required.
okay. Okay, thank you very much. So now we will move on to public hearing item number 2, PH2, tentative track map number 83341 and conditional use permit CUP 2021-0001. And staff, can we have a report, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and good evening, Commissioners. Tonight before you, we have a new 4-unit planning deed and development for 511 through 517 East Walnut Avenue, and Bowden Development is the applicant. The subject property is actually located at 511 through 517 East Walnut Avenue. This is in between South California Avenue and South Shamrock Avenue. It's actually also just north of that is the terminus of Gladys Avenue, which is important in this particular development and is directly adjacent to an alleyway to the north. The zoning is RM 3000, and this is actually a roughly around 13,000 square foot parcel. Currently it sits at 2 individual parcels that are tied together, and the applicant is proposing a 4-unit PUD which will split the parcel into 5 separate lots, 1 for each individual unit, and then a common area. However, as it exists today is 3 separate units split across those 2 parcels, which is 511, 513, and 517, each built in their respective years. This actually was reviewed by HPC on August 26th of 2020 to determine any historical significance for these existing units to be demolished. And it was determined that there was no historical significance, and they assigned it a status code of 6Z. So those 3 existing minimal traditional homes will be removed from the property, pending approval. With regards to the development in the immediate surrounding, you have 511 right there in the middle. The street of Walnut Avenue, specifically East Walnut Avenue, is very eclectic. It has a multitude of different architectural styles, as well as both single and 2-story development along its street. With the proposed site plan, the subject property itself is a little unique in that Gladys Avenue terminates at the alleyway. So staff worked very closely with the developer to utilize this almost as a through lot. And so the units A and B, as you see on the slide, will face East Walnut Avenue, whereas unit C and D, which is the rear units, will actually face the alleyway and subsequent Gladys Avenue. Each individual unit is roughly around 1,300 square feet in size, which is 3-bed and 2.5 bath. Each will be equipped with a 2-car garage as well, and a roughly around 600 to 700 square foot private yard space. And the alleyway will provide access to those garages, so you actually won't go off of Walnut Avenue. You'll go off the alleyway and or subsequent Gladys Avenue to reach the driveway approach. versus what it is today off of East Walnut Avenue. So this project, again, is part of the RM development standards. It does meet or exceed all the development standards in terms of FAR, height, setbacks, recreation space, and the parking spaces, as indicated both in this slide as well as in the staff report that you received. The units are provided as a Mediterranean style, which will fit nicely in with the eclectic street as it is already, with a combination of, it has eagle brown roof tile is being proposed with shallow eave overhangs, decorative stucco fascia, and the planton shutters that you see. So these are actually the front units which will face East Walnut Avenue. So this is units A and B as if you were looking at it from the street. And then the north elevations are below, which is actually the back side facing the rear units. So this is both the south and the north. And then this is still the front units. This is the side elevations. So these face the interior of the lot and the exteriors accordingly. They're going to be provided with La Habra stucco in an eggshell color. And it's going to provide a light sand finish as well. And as you can see off of the top left image and the top right image, the porches are around 5 feet deep and almost the entire width of the front facade. So you have a nice big long porch for these, which is a nice added touch for the pedestrian walkway that is along East Walnut Avenue. Here we have the rear elevations. Again, these at the top will face the alleyway and subsequent Gladys Avenue. They have slightly recessed porches in this particular matter, but the color scheme and the materials will all match the front units. So all 4 units would be relatively the same in terms of their color and architectural style. These make a little more use of the black awnings that you'll see over the smaller windows in this particular location. And these are their side elevations, again, off of the rear units. As the front units will have attached garages, the rear units will have detached garages, each at about just under 400 square foot space. And in terms of neighborhood compatibility, just a slide showing that the proposed development is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. So directly next door, continuing to the east, everything highlighted in red are 2-story developments. Most recently was approved, I believe, 2019 off of Gladys Avenue. It was a 3 units that are all 2 stories. I think there's a 10-unit already multiplex off of East Lemon there. And then directly next door adjacently is a 2-story single-family development as well. And all the windows have been placed on these proposed units, have been modified in terms of the location to make sure that they're not directly adjacent to any other windows or neighboring backyards. So there'll be no privacy impacts. So as far as the timeline goes, again, the Historic Preservation Commission met on August 26 and deemed that the existing residential units on site had no historical significance. The community development director reviewed this on behalf of the DRC off of November 4th, and as so recommended approval with draft conditions to the Planning Commission. Tonight we have it before you, and because this is a tentative track map to split it into 5 different parcels, this will ultimately go before City Council pending your approval. Tentatively be scheduled for February 2nd. As noted, we have not received any feedback from any of the neighboring properties, either for or with concerns on this project. A 300-foot mailing radius was sent out, as well as a newspaper notice as required. And as such, staff is recommending approval with conditions from you to City Council. And that concludes tonight's presentation from me. If you have any questions, I myself am here, as well as I believe Tracy French is here, if you have any questions for the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Fellow commissioners, does anyone have any questions? No questions? Okay. So I know we would move on to opening the public hearing, but I believe so we'll open the public hearing.
Yes, that would be appropriate.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing and then the applicant is available to speak.
Yes, Ms. Tracy French is present.
Hi, Happy
Hi.
New Year, Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Tracy again, and I would like to especially thank staff for presenting this project this evening at 511 East Walnut. And we do agree with all the conditions of approval as proposed for this project and feel that it'll be a great addition to the community as well as the city. Thank you again for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else, Sherry, that needs to speak, maybe in favor of the,
No, we've been monitoring our lines, and there's no one present who has public input on this public hearing item. Thank you.
okay. Thank you. So now we will close the public hearing. And I'm going to ask for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval to the city council of TTM 83341 and CUP 2021-001 as presented in the staff report.
I'll second that motion. I'll second that motion. Commissioner Sheaf.
Okay, thank you. And can we ask for a roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioners Austin,
Yes.
Brooke,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Scheffler,
Yes.
Sheaf,
Yes.
and Chair Carter Bowen.
Yes. All righty. Thank you very much. So now we will move on to PH3. We have tentative track map number 83265 and conditional use permit CUP 2021-0002. And staff, if you have a report for us, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair and members of the Planning Commission. This application before you tonight is for a proposal for a new 10-unit industrial condominium project located at 900 South Magnolia Avenue. Two entitlement requests are proposed. The first is a tentative tract map, which proposes to consolidate all the parcels of the subject site into a single parcel and then further subdivide the proposed building into 10 condos, which could be sold separately for individual ownership. A conditional use permit is required anytime someone proposes a new building construction of 10,000 square feet or more. Next slide, please. Okay, so the subject site is located on the southeast corner of South Magnolia Avenue and West Chestnut Avenue. It also has an alley access along the south property line as shown in this location map. This total site area totals approximately 32,000 square feet. It's about 0.76 acres in size. And it's located in the manufacturing zone. And as you can see from the picture on the right, this is a picture of the assessor map. It shows that the development site that's highlighted in yellow can actually includes 4 parcels that have been tied together presently for tax purposes. As I mentioned before, the tentative tract map proposes to consolidate those and then further subdivide the building airspace. Next slide, please. And so this is a picture of the existing site today. As you can see, it is occupied by a wide parking lot, and then along the east property line, there's an older condominium project that's there. It's a warehouse building that was actually gone through some fire damage in 2016. And this building was rendered unoccupiable, and it's been sitting vacant in the city for some time. There's a new owner who's come forward and is proposing this project, and it's a unique opportunity to propose a new industrial building in this city's block. It's proposing to actually fill in that corner, which has been ready and ripe for development for some time. And so as we do with residential developments, when we look at neighborhood compatibility, part of our design review in the early stages is taking a look at the surrounding neighborhood for non-residential projects as well. So these next series of photos are to give you an idea of the neighborhood and the current existing development surrounding the subject site. This is a view of the project site looking north on Magnolia towards the east. And right across the street from this subject site, you can see a brand new industrial condominium project. And this one is also a 10-unit project that was approved several years back, but finally got built and got its occupancy last year. Next slide. This is a view from the project from Magnolia Avenue looking south. Here you can see the alley approach and some single-story industrial buildings. And this is a picture of development along the west side of Magnolia Avenue. These buildings are occupied by all office, light industrial uses. Again, this is another development directly to the west. And then this is looking from the site southwest. So the development plan proposes to use that alley along the south property line. So the main building is going to be proposed along the south property line and oriented towards West Chestnut Avenue. It's going to be a mirror image of what's been built across the street. The building's proposed to total approximately 17,000 square feet. Access to the building for vehicular service for loading, unloading, and traffic service will be provided through the alley, and that's shown in the orange arrows there. There will be 2 trash enclosures that are proposed there as well for trash pickup. And then a total of 33 parking spaces are proposed in front of the building. Site access will be provided via 2 24-foot wide driveways along Chestnut Avenue for both ingress and egress. And this development site plan also proposes some bicycle parking, a minimum of 8 bicycle parking that's going to be accessible near the building along South Magnolia Avenue, and then new landscaping surrounding the site. Now, the overall development area in the plan proposes primarily industrial floor area. Approximately 9,800 square feet of that building will be industrial floor space. But each of those units also will incorporate an incidental office area, totaling cumulatively close to 3,000 square feet. So the municipal code, Monrovia Municipal Code parking requirements require a minimum of 1 parking stall for every 500 square feet of industrial floor space and 1 parking stall for every 250 square feet of office space. So based on the calculations, a total of 32 stalls are required, and this application proposes 33. Here's a glimpse of what one of the site plan proposes. So there's, the floor plan. The development will have 4 model or floor plan types that are proposed. They're each going to have varying warehouse areas. Some will have larger warehouse spaces. The applicant proposes to build out each of these units so that they're ready to occupy upon sale. Each unit will come with, as I mentioned before, an incidental office area, warehouse floor space, mechanical room, restroom. And they will be accessed, they will also be designed so that vehicles can actually enter the back of the building for loading and unloading within the building. This table summarizes that the development plan was checked against our development standards in the municipal code, and it meets or exceeds all the development standards. Okay, now this slide is intended to give you a bird's eye view of the proposed development. Looking both from the southeast and from the northwest. As you can see, a lot of attention was put in and focused on architectural details, building articulation, modulation, and placement of the building given its relationship to the alley and the corner lot. The architectural style is very streamlined and modern. It uses a wide variety of materials and cool colors, such as white stucco will be the main body exterior finish. There'll be accent, vertical fin accents that are going to highlight each entry to each of these units. And then a darker gray stucco will be adjacent to that fin and will provide a space for building signage identification. Each of the unit entries will will be sheltered with the metal awnings. All the storefronts will be of dark aluminum frames, and there'll be a dark gray trim cap at the top of the building. And a lot of thought and detail went to actually each elevation that's being proposed on this building. So this top elevation is actually the east side elevation, and this side elevation is being built right up to the property line. And on the other side of that property line is another building. So given that it's going to be difficult to stucco this facade, the applicant's proposing a decorative split face block so that any portion of that building that will be visible will be finished in that split face block. The bottom elevation is the street elevation of Magnolia. That's the west elevation. As you can see, there's architectural detailing there. Windows were included. There'll be access from this elevation to a utility room. And then to give the surface a little bit more interest, these facades that are being treated with stucco are going to have these trim lines that run through it. They're channels that provide recess within the wall area. And this is an image of the rear of the building. Here you can see the roll-up doors. So this project went through a pre-review with both planning, public works, and fire, and there are recommended conditions of approval that are included in the staff report. Staff has had a long discussion with the director of community development who reviewed this project on behalf of DRC. And some of the discussion we had talked about future business operation here and creative ways to accommodate new business in the city. One of the things we were suggested as a condition of approval was that when these buildings are built, with their floor plans built out, the parking is pretty much set. And but oftentimes businesses come in and they don't fit that one-size-fits-all office, warehouse, industrial, condo. So we've created some creative conditions of approval that give an opportunity for unique business. And one would be that there'd be a mechanism for a business to be reviewed by the Development Review Committee should they want to add additional mezzanine space. And if the DRC finds that there's not going to be an impact to parking, then there'd be an ability to approve those with specific conditions. Again, in this particular block, we've seen an interest for breweries to pop up. So just south of the site, within walking distance, the Planning Commission has approved 2 breweries. And part of a brewery is allowing the incidental sale of retail of products that are produced on site. And that's another condition that we're recommending that be allowed upon review and approval by the Development Review Committee. So as I mentioned, the DRC reviewed this on December 16th and recommended approval to the Planning Commission. Because this application contains that tentative track map, this project also requires approval by the City Council. Staff and the director on behalf of the DRC is recommending approval. And I am happy to answer any questions you may have. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Commissioners, do any of you have any questions? No? Okay. So now we will open the public hearing.
Yes, and tonight we do have both the architect designer and the new property owner. The architect is Eric Tseng and the property owner is Mr. Jason Su. And so I'm unmuting and either of you are welcome to speak.
Hi, good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. My name is Eric Tseng. I'm the architect of this project. With me tonight in this meeting is the property owner, Jason Su, on another line. We would like to thank Sherry for working closely with us throughout the process and for putting together a comprehensive staff report and presentation for tonight's meeting. At this point, I do not have any additional information to add, and I will be around for any questions regarding this project. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Sherry, did you receive any comments from anyone? We can't hear you.
Sorry, I was on mute. We did not receive any public comments on this public hearing item.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So now we will close the public hearing. And then we will ask for a motion.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Brook, I move to approve tentative track map number 83265 and conditional use permit 2021-0002.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I can second that, but I do have a question for staff that wouldn't impede the motion in the second. Can I go ahead with the question, Madam Chair?
Does he go with the question now?
Sure.
Yes, okay.
To staff, came to me after your presentation, Sherry, thank you for the good presentation. Would it be permissible, let's say in the mezzanine area or in some of the area there, to convert any of that area to like residential? Is that not permissible?
Yeah, based on the current zoning, the zoning would not allow any type of mixed use at this location. There'd have to be, we'd have to like look at it from a general plan, land use change, a zone change in order to accommodate a development like that within this particular industrial manufacturing neighborhood.
So they couldn't go in there and say, I'll add a shower and a little kitchenette and make that my residence since I'm an owner.
Right, that wouldn't be permitted by right based on
Okay.
the code today.
Perfect. Thank you. Just wanted to clarify that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so can we have a roll call, please, staff?
Commissioners Austin,
Yes.
Brooke,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Scheffler,
Yes.
Sheaf,
Yes.
and Chair Carter Bowen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now we will move on to our next item on the agenda. It's PH4, Public Hearing 4. Conditional Use Permit CUP 2021-0003. And staff, can we have a report, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and again, good evening again, Commissioners. Tonight
you.
before you, we have a conditional use permit, CUP 2021-0003 for 131 to 141 South Myrtle Avenue. The applicants are Mr. Johnny Moore and Rashad Randall from R&M Eateries. And the subject property is located in the Foothill Plaza Shopping Center. This is just south of Foothill Boulevard, based on the corner of Foothill Boulevard and South Myrtle Avenue, just north of Palm Avenue, right next door to Citibank or the Cryogen Spa, if anyone's taken a walk uptown recently. The zoning for this actual property is actually in the neighborhood commercial zone, not in the HCD, historic downtown, although it is along its corridor. Here we have just the front elevation. This was taken today, so you can see that the new Chronic Tacos is ready and waiting to go in. It is a use that is permitted by right, and it fits within the zoning standards for the shopping center in the NC zone. However, the CUP is for the sale and service of alcohol, specifically a Type 41, which is a beer and wine license. And so the business of Chronic Tacos is similar to maybe a few other businesses that you've seen spring up in the city of Monrovia. Specifically, this is a build-your-own taco rather than a build-your-own burger. So you pick a base, a protein, a style, and then you have some sides and drinks to go along with it. They're going to be proposing to be open between 9 a.m. and 10 p.m. Monday through Fridays and Sundays, and then from 9 to 11 p.m. on Saturdays. They're proposing to employ hopefully up to 20 employees with the two owners, as I mentioned, Mr. Moore and Mr. Randall. Here we have the floor plan. So the entrances to the bottom of the image. This is along South Myrtle Avenue. There's actually 3 entry points down there, and there's 1 entry point off to the west, which is at the north of the top of the image for employees, and there's some employee parking back there. They're proposing a dining room right as you walk in with up to about 46 patrons, the kitchen and back of house, as well as 2 restrooms. And in this particular case, I think, from my understanding, one of the first, hopefully that comes into the city is a beer wall. And this is a mock-up of what the beer wall is going to look like. But in this particular case, the beer wall, alcohol is going to be required to be, food is going to be required to be served if you're purchasing alcohol. And how it's going to work in this particular case is all digital. They're going to use RFID cards, which is similar to kind of the tap cards that you see at the metro station. And you can purchase a certain amount of ounces, up to, I think, 12 to 16 ounces in this particular case. And then you can pour, basically a self-pour yourself, a couple of tasters, and then once you decide on a particular alcoholic beverage that you like, then you can pour the rest of whatever you've purchased. All the staff is going to undergo what's called TIP certification, which is kind of an industry standard in regards to, how to look out for not serving to minors, over serving, and the like. And so you'll have an LCD screen that tells you the name of the particular alcohol that you're purchasing, and then you'll be able to taste it, and if that's what you want, then that's what you purchase. And then they have the opportunity to modify the RFID card from the owner's end to make sure, only maybe it's up to, two alcoholic drinks per person. They can limit it and if there's any particular cause for issue. This was sent to PD as well as the other various departments, and we received no comments back. Everyone was thrilled that we may be getting a beer wall in the city, so there was no call for concern. Additionally, like I said, this was sent to the various departments. This was given to the Community Development Director for review on behalf of the DRC, and they did recommend approval with the conditions as indicated in the staff report, and it's before you tonight. In addition, 300-foot mailing radius was sent out, as well as the new paper notice, and we did not receive any comments back with any calls for in favor or with concern. And as such, staff is recommending approval with conditions tonight. And that does conclude my presentation. I am unsure if the applicant is here tonight or not. I mean, Mr. Randall may be here, and if so, he has the opportunity, hopefully, to speak coming up. So again, thank you.
Thank you. So we are going to open up the public hearing, and we're going to ask if
Chair,
the
Chair,
applicant...
would you like to entertain questions from the commission before you open up?
Oh,
the
I'm
public
sorry.
hearing?
My apologies. Commissioners, does anyone have any questions?
I do. I have one question. I know that the kitchen has to be open while they're open. You made a comment. You said you can't just go in and buy a beer. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So you have to, even though the kitchen's open, you have to buy something to have a beer.
Correct. It has to be a bona fide eating establishment, and per ABC and this particular license, they are required to sell food with the alcohol. It's not, we do not offer bars here in the city of Monrovia, and therefore they would be required to purchase food in order to purchase an alcoholic beverage.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Any other questions, fellow commissioners? No? Okay. So now I'll open up the public hearing. And if the applicant is available and would like to speak,
Yes, we do have present tonight the applicant, and I've just unmuted them.
Good evening. Thank you, Austin, for your accurate representation. Good evening, members of the Planning Commission, R&M Eateries, which is Johnny Moore and myself, Rashad Randall, and Chronic Tacos would like to thank you for your consideration, and we hope you will approve our conditional use permit. We look forward to being valuable members of the Monrovia business community. Thank you.
okay. Anyone else for applicant? Okay, no? So Sherry, did you receive any comments for anyone in favor or against?
No comments were received, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So now I'm going to move forward and ask for a motion. Oh, do I close the public hearing?
Yes, please.
Close the public hearing. And now I'll ask for a motion, please.
Madam Chair, I can move to approve CUP 2021-0003 as presented in the staff report.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Rhodes, and I'll second.
Okay. And staff, can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioners Austin,
Yes.
Brooke,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Scheffler,
Yes.
Sheaf,
Yes.
and Chair Carter Bowen.
Yes.
And Chair, the decisions of the Planning Commission for a conditional use permit are final unless appealed. Appeals must be filed in writing within 10 days to the City Council, and note that there is a filing fee that is required.
Okay. Thank you. So we will now move on to our final PH 5 agenda. So PH 5, conditional use permit, CUP 2019-0010 amendment.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and good evening again, Commissioners. Tonight, we do have an amendment to an existing conditional use permit within the city of 2019-10 for an existing business at 406 South Myrtle Avenue. The applicant is Alba Lilium Castellan Figueroa, which is now known as Iconics Burgers and Brews Company. And they're located at, again, 406 South Myrtle Ave. This is just south of West Lemon Avenue on the east side of South Myrtle Avenue, just below the existing restaurant Basin 141. And they are located within the HCD zone for the historic downtown. And here as they are as they is today, and again, right in between Cold Stone and Basin 141. And as a little bit of background, their original CUP, which CUP 2019-10, approved them for a Type 41 beer and wine license that was approved on August 14th, 2019. During their construction phase, they ended up, it was approved as a Burger IM, which I believe we were about to have another one in the city, and there was some sort of falling through, and therefore they ended up rebranding to Iconics Burgers and Brews Company, so something very similar, and they updated their menu to include more diverse and gourmet food items. But it is still a build-your-own burger. You can choose the protein style patty and the like. The proposal today is to amend the existing conditional use permit to include distilled spirits for a full liquor license. So they'll go from a Type 41 to a Type 47, which is beer, wine, distilled spirits. They'll be proposing a new drink menu, and there'll be no change to the site or floor plan proposed at this time. So this is their new updated menu. It includes a wide range of burgers from everything that your taste buds can handle, from a mac and cheese burger down to surf and turf. The existing floor plan is, again, to remain unchanged. So this is the indoor floor plan. They have seating for up to about 40 patrons. There is some bar seating. They'll have the back of house of kitchen, and there is a shared hallway at the very end, which connects to both, I believe, Basin 141 and Cold Stone Creamery for a shared restroom facility. This is their existing outdoor floor plan. Obviously, it's been modified during COVID with their TOBO permits, but their existing outdoor seating that has been approved is up to 8 seats, as shown, with delineated lines with the belt barriers and the like. This was taken as an advisory review to the Community Development Director on behalf of the DRC on December 16th. And it was moved as approved with draft conditions of approval, and again is before you tonight. And with that, staff recommends the approval with the conditions as indicated in the staff report, and that does conclude my presentation. I believe we have a couple of the applicants here tonight as well, but that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much. Fellow commissioners, does anyone have any questions for staff? Okay, no questions. So now we will open the public hearing. and ask if the applicant would like to speak.
Hi, good evening. This is Lilica Damaso.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Lilica Damaso, like I said, with Liquor License Agents, and I am the applicant's representative. Thank you, Austin, for your presentation. Like Austin mentioned, the applicant has operated at this location with beer and wine for a year, and they've done so responsibly. And the upgrade of their beer and wine license for incidental alcohol sales with food will allow the patrons the same service that they would experience at any other local restaurants in the surrounding area. As a member of the community, the applicant will strive to continue to help the neighborhood achieve their development goal and continually improve the character of such neighborhood as well. I am here today to respectfully request the approval of the CUP amendment, and I am available for questions if any. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Any other applicant? Anybody else speaking for the applicant? No? Okay.
And Chair, we have been monitoring our planning email inbox and phone line, and we have not received any public input for this item as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. So now we will close the public hearing. And then we're going to move forward and ask for a motion.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a quick question
Sure.
of staff? Is this colorful signage just during COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Currently, during COVID, we are not enforcing any signage regulations.
You're being, yeah, I figured,
Business
but I just thought I would ask. It's very interesting. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Just to follow up to Cheryl's question, the banner will be replaced at some point, staff, with the appropriate signage on the building since it's in the historic district.
Yeah, once the emergency order is lifted, then all the existing regulations will be in place. Businesses are allowed to have temporary banners for up to 60 days, but after that, then it's subject to regular signage regulations.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any more questions? And can we have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve CUP 2019-10 amendment as presented in the staff report.
Commissioner Sheaf, I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you. And staff, can we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Commissioners Austin,
Yes.
Brooke,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Scheffler,
Yes.
Sheaf,
Yes.
and Chair Carter Bowen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And one final time, decisions of the Planning Commission may be appealed if filed in writing to the City Council. Note that there is an appeal fee required.
Okay. So our next item would be our reports and announcements. No, I'm sorry, Community Development Director report.
As we do have a couple of updates for you tonight. Sherry's going to give you an update on our status of our housing element as we've been discussing over the last couple of months. We have kicked that process off and we're moving forward. And I'll let her give you an update on that. And then after her report, I've got a couple other updates for you.
Thank you very much. Yes, our goal is to give you updates on a monthly basis when we come to these meetings. And as Craig mentioned, we have been working very hard on our housing element update. And this week, we began starting our focused interviews. So we sent out over 150 invitations via email to service providers, affordable housing builders, local housing advocates. They're all going to be invited to these focused stakeholder interviews, which will be conducted by our land use consultant, MIG, next week on January 21st. There'll be 2 opportunities for them to participate. And the purpose of these interviews will be to seek input primarily on the housing element piece of the update, as well as the safety element piece of the update. But that's not the only opportunity for public input. Sometime towards the end of next week, we will be releasing a community-wide survey, both in English and Spanish, that's going to be available through our website, email, and we encourage everyone to participate in it. Stay tuned for seeing highlights about this survey in the city manager's newsletter. And once that's conducted and we receive some input, there'll be other opportunities in the spring when we will be coming back to the Planning Commission and City Council with findings and to collect the final public input before we have a rough draft of our new housing element, safety element, and new environmental justice element. So that concludes my update for this evening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Any questions from the commissioners?
Sure, for Sherry, environmental justice. Can you educate all of us on what that means?
Yes, it's very new. It's a new element that most jurisdictions in California are going to have to adopt. It focuses on reducing barriers to neighborhoods who may be marginalized by environmental issues such as proximity to a freeway or environmental hazards, as well as socioeconomic impacts. Part of this environmental justice element is gonna, the new element, we're gonna be reaching out to these neighborhoods, finding where they're located in Monrovia, and working to reduce barriers to access to services so that they can be connected and have access to open spaces and city services, healthcare, education. So that's a brief summary of what the goal is behind that element.
Thank you. Put that into easy terms to understand.
Any other questions, commissioners, for Sherry? No? Thank you, Sherry.
You're very welcome. In short, all of these updates are really for long-term improving the quality of life here in our community for residents and business owners and employees working in businesses here in the city.
Thank you. Okay, so now we will move on to reports, announcements from commissioners.
Actually, Chair, I had a couple more announcements for the commission.
Okay.
First, Sherry and her team have been doing a terrific job on the housing element, moving things along. There are so many moving parts, and there's our goal is to involve as many people as we can. This early part is really critical. It's the fact finding, because the whole basis of the housing element is to determine what are the needs of the community related to housing, and then develop programs to address those needs. So the outreach that we're doing right now is going to be very, very important to that. And the Planning Commission definitely will be involved in this a little further down the line. It's really important, though, that you as a decision maker and a recommendation to the decision maker be very objective of this, so you can participate in these meetings as residents, but you want to be very clear that you're not participating as a commissioner, again, because you are going to be making a decision on that moving forward. Just a couple announcements. As you may recall, a couple months ago, the Planning Commission made a recommendation to the City Council on two ordinances. One was the reasonable accommodations ordinance, and the other was the accessory dwelling unit ordinance. Both of those ordinances were adopted by the City Council at their last meeting, so they go into effect at the beginning of February. So we're in the process of putting together a lot of information specifically on ADUs, and we're going to build a whole ADU page to get information out to the community. We're getting a lot of interest, a lot of inquiries related to ADUs. Also, as you recall, Commissioner McClellan's last meeting was last month. We have opened up the recruitment process for another commissioner. That recruitment closes the end of this week. Then we will review the applications, and then we will set up interviews. Traditionally, the chair of the Planning Commission sits on the interview committee as well as the liaison to the city council, and then the director and the planning division manager. So we anticipate that we'll see how many applicants come in. If we did get very many applications, we may ask the city council to extend that application period. But we're hopeful, we did some outreach on that, so we're hopeful we get a pretty good pool. I would expect that we probably will have, we could have a commissioner seated as early as next month.
Craig, because you guys are at City Hall, how would an application be delivered? Personally to City Hall, or can it be scanned and emailed back?
It can. There's multiple ways that you can. They could drop it off through with the water bill slot in front of City
okay,
Hall.
can go in that slot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or it can be mailed, or it can be emailed, or you can even fill it out online. So
okay.
There's multiple ways to be able to get that application, and our city clerk has done a terrific job trying to facilitate making this process as easy as possible.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you.
Also, if you have driven down Myrtle Avenue, you're noticing that the Avalon project is just taking shape. I mean, week by week, that project is just evolving so quickly, and all the details are starting to come in. You know, I got very excited this week when I went to look at the new the light fixtures that went in, and they look terrific, and we're just really excited to see how quickly that project is moving. This has been probably one of the easiest developments that we've dealt with in a long time. The development team is just fantastic and really is partnering with us to make the best project possible. So we're excited on that. We're working on the affordable covenants right now. They are taking applications for the affordable units online on their website. So information is gone out with the city manager's weekly report. So we're hoping, we're really excited that we're going to get some affordable units online very soon. They're looking at occupancy in the first phase in March. So that's right around the corner. And then there'll be phased occupancy through the end of June. So again, that project is moving along. Also, Sherry and I, over the last couple of weeks, we've had a number of phone calls with other developers for the other projects that have been entitled. Everybody still is very hopeful, is wanting to move forward. COVID has changed everything from how they get things done to being able to get their financing. But Monrovia is still a very desirable place. Especially down by the Gold Line. So we're really very hopeful that all those projects will come to fruition, albeit they may be a little slower. But I think tonight's Planning Commission agenda is a really good indication of how strong the Monrovia market is right now. To have an industrial development come in is something that a lot of communities in our area are not seeing, as well as housing. And our businesses are doing okay. They're not doing great. We've got a couple of other businesses that are going to be moving forward that we can't disclose right now, but they're really exciting. So we'll be updating you over the next couple of months. So again, we're really excited for 2021. A lot of things coming down the pike. A lot of things will be going through the Planning Commission. Certainly the housing element, the safety element, and the environmental justice element is going to take a lot of our time and focus this year, but there's a lot of other good stuff going on. So we're really excited about that, and we'll be talking about it throughout the whole year. So that concludes my update. I'm happy to answer any questions if the commission has any.
Whatever happened to the Marriott, the 109 unit?
It's still moving forward. I think the hotel industry is very skittish right now because their customer base has been significantly cut, but they're committed to moving forward. The last discussion we had with them, which is just this week, I believe it was this week, yeah. They're looking at breaking ground in June. Their plans are ready to go. They've been in plan check for quite a while, ready to issue. It's just they're finalizing all their financing but again, they're feeling very good about the Monrovia market. Our hotels are actually doing much better than a lot of other communities' hotels. So again, we feel good about that.
How about Station Square South? Is there anything going with that?
So Station Square South got a couple of moving parts down there. I think I gave the commission an update that the city actually went through an eminent domain process to get an access to the southern access to the platform, to the Gold Line. That was approved. We negotiated a settlement. So we're working with Metro right now and the California CPUC to get the finalization on the change to the grade crossing. The developer, that was a really important component for the developer. So now that this piece is in place, they're moving forward on finalizing their financing. So again, we still feel very hopeful that that project is going to move forward too.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Craig, for the updates and the announcement. Sherry, staff, thank you to everyone. Are there any more questions? If not, then we will call the meeting adjourned.
Good night.
Thank
All right,
you
everybody.
very much for
Good night.
everybody.
Okay.
Have a
See you
great
next
night.
month.
Safe.
Get home
Yeah.
safely.
Yeah.
You too, Sherry.
Okay.